All right, good. Today we're going to continue learning about the Holy Temple. We pretty much finished the learning the really relevant parts of the of this week's Torah portion, part Mas'eh. We learned in just in a general way, we learned the 42 journeys, and we also learned about the yesterday the city of refuge. It was going to be okay. So let's learn now about the Holy Temple. We already began actually a few days ago. And talking about the Holy Temple, that according to the Maimonides, the main thing of the Holy Temple is the altar. There's another place where the Ramban, Moses ben Nachman, that he lived like 100 years after the Rambam. He says that the main thing is really the Holy of Holies. That's what he says the main thing. But both of them agree that the other one is important. But let's look at the Rambam. Now, today we're going to learn Rambam Maimonides. So it says that the Rambam, he said that the main thing of there's a holy temple, and it's a commandment to make it, especially a place where you can make sacrifices. And according to the Rambam Maimonides, the main feature of the holy temple was the Mizbeach, the outer altar. This outer altar was outside. It was here. Over here, let's see if we can make a picture, get a picture over here, how it looked, where exactly it was. It was over here. You can't see it. Let's see it. 1 second. Here. See, it was over here. When you come into the Holy Temple from here, and this would be there would be stairs going up, and this would be the area of the Kohanim. That's where the Kohanim would be, and this is where the altar was. Let's see if we can make it on. You have to be careful what you do over here. Oh, see, is there a picture over here? No. Okay, something like this. This is what the altar looked like. There was a big a big bonfire. There was actually 3. All right, these pictures are not that accurate. Let's go back. It's sort of the problem with all these is to find accurate pictures. It's just filled with pictures that are very nice, but they're not really the ones we're looking for. Here we go. Just wastes a lot of time. All right, let's go back to that picture. If we can just get back to it. Oh, there we go. All right, so this is where the altar was. The altar was here. If you were looking from the outside, see here, you can't see it because that's this area. But it was between this big building, which that's the big building, and the steps. That was called the Shar Nikanor. That's where the altar was. All right. Let's exactly see what are the measurements of the altar. Here's a sort of a better picture. I mean, here was the altar. Here is a laver where they would wash their hands. And this is what's called the ulam, the sort of pre-room. This was the holy, and this is the Holy of Holies. And the Holy of Holies was only the ark, and the holy was the menorah, and the 12 loaves of face bread, and the golden altar, small golden altar that was only for incense. But this is where the main action was. Over here, that's where the sacrifices were brought up and burned. And here's where they were sacrificed. Some of them, what we call the kodshim. And there's kadashim kalim, like Passover. They were they could be sacrificed, and they could be killed, slaughtered over here, even by the owners. Okay, so here we have a sort of a good picture of the altar. This is what the altar looked like. Right? When you came in from here. So you would see the altar would be coming from this side. That's where you would see the altar. Let's see if we can get a proper perspective here. When you came in, you would see it from this side. I don't know why they made this thing slanted, because it certainly was not slanted. But anyway, but this is sort of accurate. You'd come into the Holy Temple from here, and this is what you would see. Right? You come into this door here. This is the altar that you would see. altar. And in the middle of it, there was this sort of a like a protrusion, and that's where the sacrifices would be left to burn. Right. So there was one main ramp that went up. We're going to learn the laws in a minute. We'll see the Rambam. One main ramp that went up. Then there was the main part of the altar. On the altar, there were three fires that were burning. So you come up from here. There's one fire, two fires, three fires. One of these fires was used. There's differing opinions about how many there were, but one of them was used for fire for the golden altar whenever it was needed. And one was just there because it was a commandment to have fire burning all the time. There to be a constant fire, so it was burning. This is sort of missing. Over here, there was like this little square, little hole where they would throw the bird offerings that weren't kosher. And here there was a ramp that went around. This was called the Soved. It went all the way around. Sometimes blood had to be sprinkled. The Kohanim would walk on this ledge that went out. Sometimes. And sometimes the Kohanim would walk around on the top. It depended on what the sacrifice was. At each corner, there was a protrusion, a Karen. And let's see if we have a picture of the Karen here. See, Karen on every corner. There's a corner. And over here, there were two spigots, like funnels that came up. One of them, they would pour wine in every day. And one of them that had a smaller hole in it was for pouring water in. And that was only on the days of Sukkot, on Sukkot. Okay, that's the altar. We have also some very original picture. It was a look from the top. That's what it looked like on the top. So when you came into the temple, this is what you would see from here, from this side. All right, now let us learn the Rambam and see if we can extrapolate that and put it over what we have. Ready? Let's go. Here we go. Okay. Some of these laws we learned before. Remember, it said that the place of the altar was very, very exact. This is the same place where Abraham sacrificed Isaac. The whole entire tabernacle, the holy temple was on Har Moriah. Har Moriah was the place where Abraham sacrificed Yitzchak, right? Was willing to sacrifice him. An angel came and stopped him. That was called Har Moriah. That's what we said. This is the place where Abraham sacrificed, bound up anyway, Yitzchak. That was called the Akedah. He bound him up. And this was the place where Adam, he offered up his sacrifices when he was created from that. This is where Cain, remember Cain and Hevel, tragic story, that Cain offered up, flax, and Hevel offered up an offering from his best of his sheep, and God accepted his offering, and Cain got jealous and killed him. This is where Adam Rishon, he sacrificed his first sacrifice when he was created. And from there he was created. He was created from that dirt that was on that place. It says that from the place he was created. Now, just to remember the whole idea of the sacrifices, why we make the sacrifices. We make the sacrifice because that's what God wants. It doesn't make any sense. Of course, there is logic behind it in the Kabbalah and Kabbalistic reasons, and there's also metaphorical reasons. But those metaphors and things could be accomplished other ways. The main thing of the sacrifices is we're doing what God wants. God knows why. And there's deep Kabbalistic principles that are involved, but the essential thing of doing what God wants, that's above all Kabbalistic ideas. That's our connection with the Creator. That's why the word korban, sacrifice, also means to come close. We talked about this many places before. This is the place also, it says that Noah, he sacrificed his sacrifices when he got out of the ark. Remember? Okay. The place where this is was the place of the altar, and the measurements of the altar were very, very exact. They were passed down. The size of the altar in the second temple, it's the Bnei Agola. is something like the second temple is something like what's going to be in the third temple, the Atid Livanot, what's going to be in the third temple. And you're not allowed to add or subtract from the measurement. 3 prophets, we learned this before, 3 prophets came with the Jews from Babylon in order to tell exactly where the place of the altar was. He said, one of them, He'id Lahem al Midotov, one of them told on the place, exactly the place. One of them said exactly what the measurements were. And one of them certified that you could sacrifice. He gave the certification, you can sacrifice sacrifices on this altar, even though there is no holy temple. If you know where the altar is, and then you can sacrifice sacrifices on that place, providing that it's standing. The altar has to be standing. Okay, here we go. The altar that Moses made in the tabernacle in the desert, the King Solomon made in the first temple, and that the Ezra made when they came up from the Nehemiah, when they came from Babylon, and in the second temple, and also the third temple that's going to be, all of them are 10 amos high. Like we said before, an amma is about 15 feet. An amma is about a foot and a half, something like that. And so 10 amos means 15 feet tall, about a story and a half. This is written in the Torah. That what it says in the Torah, it has to be 3 amos high. That's talking about the Mokom Maracha alone. What's the Maracha alone? That's the top part. I'll point to that in 1 second. The altar that was made in the second temple, and the one that's going to be built, it's going to be 32 amos by 32 amos. So let's have a look and see what's going on over there. Here we go. Let's have a look. Here. This is the altar, right? In the second temple was 32 by 32. It was, what do we say, 10 amos high? This part is the Mokom Maracha. It's the top of it. This is 3 amos high. And there was also what we call a chuta sikra that ran around the middle of the altar. Let's see if we can see it. We have a picture over here. Not a very, very accurate one. In any case, this is the best picture we can find for now. The altar, this is a side view. It had a line over here, and this was for the bird offerings. There were some bird offerings, the chatat, which was below, and the ola was, the blood was, it was pressed above. I'm going to use mainly. This is a picture of, like we said, the horns on the sides of the altar. Here, by the way, there's over here, is there a picture over here? Of the hole, no. We're going to get to this in a minute. No. Ah, here it is. There's a hole called the revuva. And this was in the side. If you were standing facing, this is the opposite of when you're coming in. When you came into the tabernacle, when you came into the temple, it was from here, you would see. And on this side, there was this hole where they would throw the bird offerings that weren't kosher. Here's a picture of a coin coming in. Right? Not an accurate picture, see sort of a slant. Okay. And this, by the way, is the show bread that I talked about, the face bread. But let's stick to the altar. Let's stick to the altar. Oh, one corner of the altar, there was what we call the yesod of the altar. We have a picture over here of the yesod. Where is it? Here. See, this is the yesod of the altar. Also, there was one side, one corner that it didn't have yesod. See, you can sort of see it over. That's this corner over here. It didn't have one because we'll learn about this. Anyway, we'll learn why it was that one side didn't have. All right, let's go back to the Rambam. Here we go. How big are these amos? The 10 amos of the altar, some of them were 5 hand breadths, and some of them were 6 hand breadths. But only in the altar is it that way. Everything else in the in the whole holy temple, when it says that it's what's an amma, 1 amma big, it's always 6 handbreadths, 6 fists like this. Okay, this is the measurement. Is 5 tvachim. Okay, it's very difficult to do this if you don't have the picture right over here with us. But we sort of saw the picture, right? We saw that it's built like a cake. First of all, there's the yesod. The yesod is 32. Okay, we can skip this. Here we go. The height of each corner, remember there's that protrusion that goes on the top, this horn on every corner, that horn is 5 tefachim high. And it's 1 amma on 1 amma. In other words, each corner is 1 amma on 1 amma, which we said an amma is 6 tefachim. And there's 4 corners, they're empty. It says they're empty. And therefore, the whole thing altogether is 18 ammas. Okay, so let's take a picture. We're talking about the corners over here, right? Sorry. Here. These are the corners. Here, see, this is the corners. This, it says, was 5 ammas high, and it was 6 ammas square in the corner. If you measured from the bottom to the top, that's what he says over here. Oh, from here. See, from there to there, that's the 10 ammas that you get altogether. From here to here. And this is this red line which goes in the. So this is called the yesod. This is called the yesod. And this is called the ma'aracha. That's called the ma'aracha. Okay. We have a picture. Let's have the picture, sort of a full picture of the altar. We had it before. I would like to have, here we go. See, there's from here to the top was, we say 10 ammas, 15 feet high. And this was 32 feet by 32 feet, 32 feet, right? And this side over here was, so to speak, empty. It didn't have a fountain and a side to it. Okay, let's see why. Let's go. There's a chutz shel sikra. Remember we said that there's the red line that goes around the middle of the altar. It's a choger be'emtza. It goes all the way around the middle of the altar to separate between the blood, which that has to be sprinkled above it, and the blood that has to be sprinkled below it. So it comes out from the ground until this maracha is 9 amos. And if you add on that corner, that horn, that corner thing that protrudes, that makes it 10. Okay, the Yesoda Mizbech, that lower base, what's this? All right. So the base of the altar, it went around all 4 sides, but on the southwest side, now the west is what faces you when you come in. That's the west side, what faces you when you come in. And the south side, that's on your left. So it says, the southwest side is missing 1 amma on the is that right? So on that corner, I'm sorry, the southeast side doesn't have a yesod. It doesn't have a base to it. It doesn't have a base. So let's have a look. Just 1 second, we'll see this. Here. Okay, so not like I said in the beginning. It's this, according to what he said, this side over here. Here we go. Picture. Here, this is the altar. This side was missing. That's what he said. This side was missing. One amma here, one amma here. Give me a better picture of this. Here, see, it was missing this side, and this doesn't come out good. Let me get a better picture. Excuse me for the delay. It's a lot of time. Here, this side here. This side is missing. Southeastern side is missing. From here over to here is missing. So where can we find a better picture of that? I'm sorry. Here, see. Anyway, this is the best thing here. There was one whole side of it that did not have, what was missing, because that was in the area. Okay, in the southwest corner, there were two holes. There were two very thin holes, and they were called sheetin. That they, like I said, there were two funnels on that corner of the altar. And on that side, there was a place which was one amma and an amma, and it was empty. And there, all of the blood and the things went down into this place called the shitim. All right, let's have a look at just this picture one more time and see if we can. Here we go. I'm sorry that there's no just really accurate pictures. There's a lot of pictures that are not really accurate over here. I'm sorry. Here we go. Let's try to find one here. Okay, when you would go in to the Holy Temple, you would see the altar like this. Where were those pictures? Huh. Well, I'm sorry. The pictures that I had are not here now. All right, on the altar, remember there was a picture of the altar. On the altar on this side, there, on this side of the altar, right over here, that's where the two spigots were, two funnels. And one of them would be for the water and one would be for the, on this side over here, can we get a picture of it? There was a picture from above. Here, see, if you came in to the altar, you came from here. Over here, there was a hole where there was a hole where the libation offerings that you poured would go down into this hole to a place, it says in the middle of the earth, called the Shittim. Oh, here we have a picture here. See, that's where the two funnels were, over on this side. One was for water, and the other one was a bigger funnel, and that was for the wine. So it would go down easily and equally. and over here was that hole that was covered by a piece of marble, and that was the libations would go down into that corner down here. And this was the place where there was no fountain yesod. Over there, there was no, see this here? All right. Oh, the ramp. What about the ramp? The ramp was on the, as you were coming in, it would be on the left side, the south side of the altar. It was 32 amas on the slant going up. But on the ground, it was only 30. You'll see. On the width of it was 16 amas, but on the earth, it was only 30 amas because it was at a slant, right? It was a triangle. And it would go a little bit on 1 amma over the foundation, the yesod on the bottom. And amma on the sovev also a little bit. Okay, so here was the sovev we had. Here. This is the sovev. This is the sovev, and the ramp, see, would go over it. Can you see? Would go over this. That's the sovev, and also the foundation. So down here was 30, and here would be 32, and it went over these two protrusions, these two levels that were over here, so that it would be able to come all the way up to the top. Good. There were also 2 small ramps that went up to the side so that you could go around the sovev, around that side from the altar. And there was a little window, and that was called the revuva. Remember, I showed you that earlier. And that was, they would put all the bird offerings that weren't kosher, they would throw there. They would throw them there. There were also 2 tables there on the west of the kevish. One of them was marble that they put on the limbs of the animals that were waiting to be brought up and sacrificed. One was made from silver, on that was all the vessels. There were rakes and things like that they had to use. When you build the altar, you have to build it all, it's all closed up, sort of like a big flat pillar. And there shouldn't be hollow at all. So what did they do? They would bring stones, complete whole stones, big ones and small ones, and then they would pour tar and other things like that, and cement or whatever, and they would pour it inside of this exactly the measurement, and that would make the altar. That's how they would make the altar from that. So it would be completely. And also you would put inside of each one of the corners that were there until it was completed, right? Until there was the 4 corners and the yesod, right? We had the lowest level we had, and the ribua, and it has to be square. This is ma'akvin. This is necessary. You have to have those things. If not, then the altar is not kosher. Any altar that doesn't have these 3 things, a keren, the horns on the side, and a yesod, and a bottom level, and a ramp, and it has to be square, like we said, 32 by 32. Oh, it's no good. You can't bring sacrifices on it. But exactly how tall it is, and how this is not so important. Okay, a altar that has any little nick on it or whatever is, if it's a certain size, then it's no good. If it's less than a tepach, like 5, then it's all right. But it has to be that there isn't remaining any stone which is blemished. This is blemished. Okay, so this is basically the building of the altar. And the altar, according to the Rambam, is the most important aspect of the tabernacle, of the temple. Here it is, the altar, right? Like we said, this picture is sort of, here's the corners. That has to be these four corners. This is the yesod. Here it's missing on this side. That's the altar. It has to be built to exact proportions. And tomorrow, God willing, we'll learn about the menorah. We have a picture of the menorah over here. Everybody makes it round. It's supposed to be straight. According to all opinions, it is straight. There's another one also for some reason, which is pretty unexplainable. Everybody ignores the Rashi and the Rambam and all this. It's supposed to be straight. Oh, we'll talk about that, God willing, tomorrow. Now we're going to learn Pirkei Avot, at least one. Ready? Let's go.